The spring wind howled through the San Francisco hills as Silas Blackwood stood at his mansion window, watching the city below with cold, calculating eyes. At 35, he'd built an empire in timber and mining, but his fortune came with a price: complete isolation. His scarred face and reputation for ruthlessness kept even the boldest fortune hunters at bay. Today, however, would change everything. A carriage rattled up his cobblestone drive, and Silas's jaw tightened. The Hartwell family had finally arrived to settle their debt. 6 months ago, he'd loaned them $20,000 to save their failing shipping business. Now, unable to repay, they were offering something far more valuable, or so they thought. "We brought our daughter as promised," Frederick Hartwell announced nervously, standing in Silas's grand parlor. "She'll make you a fine wife." But when the young woman stepped forward, Frederick's wife Constance let out a barely concealed laugh. "This is Adelaide, our youngest," she said with thinly veiled mockery. "Plain Adelaide. We thought she'd be perfect for a mountain man." Adelaide's cheeks burned crimson. While her sisters had inherited their mother's striking beauty, she'd been deemed unremarkable, too tall, too freckled, too ordinary. Her family had sent her as a cruel joke, expecting Silas to reject the arrangement. But when Silas's piercing gray eyes met Adelaide's gentle brown ones, something unexpected flickered in his chest. She didn't flinch from his scars. She didn't look at him with greed or disgust. She looked at him with quiet dignity. "The arrangement stands," Silas said firmly. "We marry within the week." Adelaide's world tilted. What had her family done? If you're captivated by this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more unforgettable tales. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers around the world. What secrets would Adelaide discover behind Silas's cold exterior? And could a marriage born from debt ever become something real? Adelaide's first night in Silas's mansion was nothing like she'd imagined. The sprawling estate sat on the edge of the city, overlooking forests that stretched toward distant mountains. Inside, every room gleamed with wealth: crystal chandeliers, imported furniture, walls lined with leather-bound books. Yet it felt utterly empty. Silas had barely spoken during the hasty ceremony. Now, as Adelaide explored her new home, she found herself completely alone. The servants whispered that their master spent most evenings in his study, poring over business ledgers until dawn. "He doesn't let anyone close, miss," said Helen, the elderly housekeeper, her voice sympathetic. "Been that way since the accident." "Accident?" Adelaide asked softly. Helen's expression darkened. 5 years back, his younger brother William died in one of the mines. Silas blames himself, changed him completely, turned him cold as winter stone. That night, Adelaide couldn't sleep. She wandered the halls until she heard piano music drifting from somewhere below. Following the haunting melody, she discovered a candlelit conservatory she hadn't seen before, and there was Silas. His scarred hands moved across the piano keys with surprising gentleness, coaxing out a melody so heartbreakingly beautiful that Adelaide felt tears prick her eyes. This wasn't the cold businessman who'd claimed her like property. This was someone who still felt deeply, too deeply. When he noticed her in the doorway, the music stopped abruptly. "You should be asleep," he said roughly, standing. "That was beautiful," Adelaide whispered. "Who taught you to play like that?" For a moment, his expression softened. "My mother, before she died." Then the walls came back up. "Don't expect companionship from this marriage, Adelaide. I needed a wife for appearances. You needed your family's debt cleared. Let's not pretend otherwise." He brushed past her, leaving Adelaide alone with the silent piano. But Adelaide was more determined than ever. Beneath Silas's cold exterior, she glimpsed something worth fighting for. 2 weeks passed in tense silence. Silas left before dawn and returned after dark. Adelaide filled her days reorganizing the neglected library and befriending the servants, learning the rhythms of her new home, but she couldn't stop thinking about that piano melody. One afternoon, Adelaide made a bold decision. She prepared dinner herself, not the fancy meals the cook usually made, but simple comfort food, roasted chicken, fresh bread, and apple pie, like her grandmother used to bake. When Silas returned that evening, he stopped short at the dining room door. "What is this?" he asked suspiciously. "Dinner," Adelaide replied calmly. "I thought we might eat together, as husband and wife. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten properly in weeks, according to Helen. Sit. Please." Something in her voice, not pleading but genuinely concerned, made Silas pause. Slowly, he took his seat. They ate in awkward silence at first. Then Adelaide began talking about the books she'd been cataloging, asking his opinion on various authors. Despite himself, Silas found himself responding. She didn't pry into his business or his past. She simply talked to him like a person. "Why did your family really send you?" Silas asked suddenly. "A woman like you could have found someone better than a scarred recluse." Adelaide met his gaze steadily. "My family sent me because they thought I was worthless, too plain, too bookish, too different from my sisters. They expected you to reject me and cancel the debt." "Then they're fools," Silas said quietly. "You're none of those things." The air between them shifted, charged with unexpected connection. "Would you play the piano again sometime?" Adelaide asked softly. "It's the most honest thing I've seen since I arrived." Silas's jaw tightened. "Music is weakness." "Music is courage," Adelaide countered. "It takes more strength to feel than to hide." Could Adelaide's gentle persistence crack the walls Silas had built around his wounded heart? Spring storms rolled through San Francisco with a vengeance. For 3 days, rain pounded the mansion while thunder shook the windows. The servants whispered nervously. Silas always grew darker during storms. Adelaide soon discovered why. She found him in William's old room, a space he'd kept locked until now. Papers were scattered everywhere, mining reports, investigation documents, letters written in a young man's hopeful hand. "It was raining that day, too," Silas said hollowly, not looking at her. "William wanted to inspect the new mine shaft. I told him to wait, but he insisted, said he wanted to prove himself. The supports collapsed. They found him 3 days later." Adelaide's heart ached at the raw pain in his voice. "It wasn't your fault. I was responsible for every man in those mines. I should have—" "You should have what?" Adelaide interrupted gently, stepping closer. "Predicted the future? You told him to wait. He made his own choice." "You don't understand. Everyone I've loved has left. My mother died when I was 12. William when I was 30. I'm cursed, Adelaide. That's why I never wanted—" He stopped, jaw clenched. "Never wanted what? Love?" Adelaide took his hand, ignoring how he stiffened. "Silas, you're not cursed. You're human. Loss is part of living, but so is taking the risk to love again." Thunder crashed overhead. Silas pulled away, but not before Adelaide saw tears on his scarred cheeks. "Go," he whispered. "Please, before I hurt you too." Instead, Adelaide did something that surprised them both. She wrapped her arms around him, holding tight as he trembled. For several long moments, Silas stood rigid. Then, slowly, his arms came around her, and he buried his face in her hair. They stood like that while the storm raged, two lonely people finding unexpected shelter in each other. Had Adelaide finally broken through, or would Silas's fear push her away forever? After the storm, something changed. Silas didn't transform overnight. He still spent long hours working, still maintained emotional distance, but small cracks appeared in his armor. He started joining Adelaide for breakfast. Brief conversations about books became longer discussions about everything and nothing. Once, she caught him almost smiling when she made a witty observation about one of his business associates. "You're different than I expected," Silas admitted one morning over coffee. "How so?" "Stronger. Most women would have demanded I send them back to their families by now. This arrangement isn't conventional." "Most women haven't seen you play piano at midnight," Adelaide replied, "or heard you laugh at yourself when you mispronounce French. You're not as terrible as you think, Silas Blackwood." That afternoon, Adelaide discovered an overgrown garden behind the mansion. With Helen's help, she began clearing weeds and planting flowers. Silas watched from his study window, puzzled by this woman who found beauty in neglected spaces. One evening, he appeared in the garden with his sleeves rolled up. "You'll ruin your hands on those thorns," he said gruffly. "Then help me," Adelaide challenged. So he did. They worked side by side, transforming chaos into order. Adelaide talked about her childhood dreams of having a garden like this. Silas shared memories of playing here with William before tragedy hardened him. When their fingers accidentally touched reaching for the same tool, neither pulled away quickly. "Why are you doing this?" Silas asked quietly. "You don't owe me kindness, Adelaide." "Maybe I'm not doing it for you," she replied, smiling. "Maybe I'm doing it for us, for the possibility of what we could become if we're both brave enough." Are you loving Adelaide and Silas's journey? Show your support with a like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment below. Where are you watching from? We want to hear from every corner of the world. But just as hope began blooming, shadows from Silas's past were about to resurface. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a well-dressed stranger. Silas's face went pale as he read it. "What's wrong?" Adelaide asked, seeing his distress. "Cassandra's coming to San Francisco," he said tightly. "William's widow. I haven't seen her since the funeral." Adelaide had heard about Cassandra from the servants, a beautiful socialite who'd married William shortly before his death. She'd blamed Silas publicly for the accident, then disappeared to New York with her grief and a substantial inheritance. "Why is she returning now?" Adelaide asked carefully. "She's remarried. Her new husband has business interests here." Silas crumpled the letter. "She wants to meet, to make amends. I don't believe it for a second." 2 days later, Cassandra swept into their home like a perfumed storm. She was everything Adelaide wasn't, sophisticated, glamorous, with the kind of beauty that turned heads. Her calculating green eyes took in everything, especially Adelaide's simple dress and uncertain posture. "So this is your wife," Cassandra said coolly. "How quaint. I heard you'd finally married Silas. I must admit I'm surprised. After William, I thought you'd never risk your heart again." "This is a business arrangement," Silas said coldly. "Nothing more." The words cut Adelaide deeply, though she kept her face neutral. Was that truly all she was to him? After their moments of connection, the garden afternoons, the growing warmth? Cassandra smiled knowingly. Of course. How practical. "Well, I won't keep you. I just wanted to warn you, Silas. There's talk in certain circles about your mining operations. Dangerous talk. Someone's been digging into the accident that killed William, asking questions. Just thought you should know." After she left, Adelaide found Silas in his study, staring at nothing. "Did you love her?" Adelaide asked quietly. "What?" "Cassandra, before she married William. Did you love her?" Silas's silence was answer enough. "And that's why you're afraid," Adelaide continued, understanding dawning. "You loved her. William loved her, and he died. You think love is a curse? Get out, Adelaide." But Adelaide wasn't giving up that easily, not when she was falling for a man too broken to see his own worth. That night, Adelaide couldn't sleep. Questions tormented her. What if Silas's heart would always belong to his past? What if she was fighting for something impossible? She found herself in the conservatory, sitting at the piano. Her fingers picked out the melody she'd heard Silas play, hesitant, imperfect, but sincere. She didn't hear him enter until he spoke. "You learned it," he said softly. Adelaide's hand stilled. "I've been practicing. Music is like conversation. It says things words can't." Silas sat beside her on the bench, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "What are you trying to say?" "That I see you, Silas Blackwood, the man beneath the scars and the wealth and the fear, the man who mourns his brother so deeply he's forgotten how to live, the man who plays heartbreaking music in the dark because it's the only way he knows how to feel." "You're wrong about me," Silas whispered. "I'm not worth—" "Stop." Adelaide turned to face him fully. "I was sent here as a joke, remember? My own family thought I was worthless. Too plain, too strange, too much trouble. But you know what I've learned? People who can't see our value don't deserve us. And I refuse to let anyone, including you, tell me I'm not enough." Something cracked in Silas's expression. "You terrify me, Adelaide, because when I'm with you I remember what it feels like to hope, and hope has only ever destroyed me." "Then be terrified with me," Adelaide said fiercely, "because I'm falling in love with you, Silas, and I know you feel something too, no matter how hard you fight it." The silence stretched between them, electric and fragile. Then Silas cupped her face with trembling hands. "I told Cassandra this was just a business arrangement because I couldn't bear her knowing the truth, that I'm completely undone by my own wife, that I think about you every moment, that I'm falling too, Adelaide, and it scares me senseless." When their lips met, it was like the world finally made sense, tender, desperate, real. But their happiness was about to face its greatest test yet. The following week, Silas received disturbing news. The investigation into William's death had unearthed evidence of sabotage. Someone had deliberately weakened the mine supports. "This can't be," Silas said, devastated. "It means William was murdered, but who would—" "Follow the money," Adelaide suggested quietly. "Who benefited from his death?" The answer came through Silas's lawyer. Cassandra's new husband, Lawrence Fletcher, had purchased 3 of Silas's struggling competitors immediately after William's accident. He'd been systematically building a mining empire on the foundation of Silas's tragedy. "And Cassandra?" Adelaide asked, though she dreaded the answer. "She knew," Silas said, his voice hollow. "She married William to get close to me, to learn about the mining operations. Then she and Fletcher arranged the accident. She gets the inheritance, Fletcher gets business intelligence, and they both get revenge." "Revenge? For what?" "5 years before William died, I outbid Fletcher for a lucrative mining contract. He swore he'd destroy me. I never imagined he'd go this far." Adelaide's mind raced. "If you confront them without proof, they'll disappear. We need evidence they can't deny." Over the next 3 days, Adelaide proved herself invaluable. She befriended Cassandra's lady's maid, learned about secret meetings between Cassandra and Fletcher, discovered letters that proved their conspiracy. Her plain appearance and quiet manner made her nearly invisible. People underestimated her, never realizing she was gathering ammunition. "You're remarkable," Silas told her one night, awestruck. "How did you do all this?" Adelaide smiled sadly. "People never notice the unremarkable daughter. I learned to see and hear everything while being seen as nothing. My family's dismissal made me observant." "You're not unremarkable," Silas said intensely. "You're extraordinary, and I've been blind not to see it from the beginning." They turned their evidence over to the authorities. Cassandra and Fletcher were arrested for conspiracy and fraud. Justice, finally, for William. But the real victory was simpler. Silas was free from his guilt. With the past resolved, could Silas and Adelaide finally embrace their future? After the trial, Silas made a surprising announcement. He was restructuring his business empire, selling the mines that had brought so much pain, investing in safer ventures like railroads and shipping. "I'm building something new," he told Adelaide, "something not stained with tragedy. But I need to know, do you want to be part of it? Truly part of it, not as a business arrangement?" Adelaide's heart soared. "What are you asking, Silas?" He took her hands, his scarred fingers gentle. "I'm asking if you'll stay married to me, not because of a debt, but because you choose to. I'm asking if you'll let me spend the rest of my life proving that you were right, that hope isn't a curse, that love is worth the risk. I'm asking," he continued, voice breaking, "if you'll forgive me for being too broken to see what was right in front of me. You've given me everything, Adelaide. You've taught me how to live again." Adelaide laughed through happy tears. "You were never broken, Silas, just healing. And yes, 1,000 times yes, I choose you. I choose us." Their kiss was interrupted by excited barking. Silas had surprised Adelaide with a golden puppy, knowing she'd always wanted a dog, but her family never allowed it. "A new beginning for both of us," he said, grinning at her delighted expression. Over the following months, their marriage transformed completely. Silas taught Adelaide to ride horses through the California hills. She introduced him to her love of literature, and they spent evenings reading together. The garden flourished under their combined care, becoming famous throughout San Francisco. Most importantly, the mansion filled with warmth, with laughter, with music, with love. "Who knew the family joke would become the best decision of my life?" Adelaide teased one evening. Silas pulled her close. "Their loss is entirely my gain, though I should probably thank them." "Don't you dare," Adelaide laughed. "Let them wonder about the plain daughter who became a mountain king's queen." But one final surprise awaited them both. A year after their marriage truly began, Adelaide and Silas hosted a grand celebration, not for themselves, but for the opening of the William Blackwood Memorial Hospital, funded entirely by Silas's new business ventures. "My brother wanted to help people," Silas told the gathered crowd. "This seemed the right way to honor that dream." Among the attendees were Adelaide's family. Her parents looked uncomfortable, realizing too late what they'd thrown away. Her sisters, married to their wealthy but shallow suitors, gazed enviously at Adelaide's obvious happiness. "You look well, Adelaide," her mother said stiffly. "I am well, Mother. Better than I've ever been." Adelaide's voice held no bitterness. She'd moved beyond needing their approval. Her father cleared his throat awkwardly. "We may have been hasty in our assessment of you." "You were exactly what you've always been," Adelaide replied calmly. "But that's your burden, not mine." "I hope you find peace with your choices." As they walked away, Silas squeezed her hand proudly. "You're incredible. You know that?" "I learned from the best," Adelaide smiled. "A mountain man who taught me that true strength is choosing to love despite the risk." That evening, in their transformed garden now in full bloom, Silas and Adelaide danced beneath the stars. The piano music from the house was no longer melancholy. It was joyful, played by Silas himself for their guests. "Do you ever regret it?" Silas asked softly. "Being sent here as punishment? Your family's cruel joke?" Adelaide touched his face gently. "Their joke gave me everything. A true home, a real partnership, and a love deeper than any romance novel. So no, my darling, I regret nothing." "Neither do I," Silas whispered. "Though I regret waiting so long to see what was right in front of me. You changed my life, Adelaide. You saved me." "We saved each other," she corrected. "That's what love does." As they kissed beneath the California stars, surrounded by the garden they'd built together, both knew they'd found something rare and precious, a love that transformed loneliness into belonging, pain into healing, and two broken hearts into one unshakable whole. The plain daughter and the cursed mountain man had become exactly what they needed to be, each other's home. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that true love can heal any wound. Drop a comment telling us where